On today's Minute of the Apes, we love Shaun of the Dead.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
The only good human is a dead human.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd.
Hey, Todd.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, Richard.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Nick.
I wondered if Richard was going to play the game of, hey, Sean. We both had quiet voice. Hey. So it is Thursday.
Yeah.
We're
Boys
cranking
Day.
right along
Boys
in this
Day.
lovely stretch of Beneath the Planet of the
Yes.
Apes.
We're just freshly into September.
It's
Apes.
minute 49.
It's gotten cooler
49.
a little bit.
A little bit cooler. In
Cooler.
Texas, cooler is a very relative
A
term.
degree or two. Yeah.
You know, because 110 to 110, we don't notice much difference.
No difference at all.
All right.
No.
Anyway.
Why don't you tell us about minute 49?
Hey, Richard. We're going to start minute 49 with Brent looking at the Queensboro Plaza sign and ends with Brent climbing a rock face out of the subway.
All right. This is going to be one of those minutes where I'm going to tell you right now there's not a lot for you to listen to, but we will stick true to our convictions and let you hear it in 3, 2.
Are you what we were? Before we learned to talk, we made a mess of everything. And did any good ever come from all that talk around all those tables?
As of minute 49, we have 3 living humans, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shootness of apes, and a gaggle of humans.
Huh.
So I was hearing ringing in the soundtrack and expect that to be the phone ringing at some point. I could hear like...
Yeah, there's some odd stuff
Yeah.
going on in the background, and I can't decide sometime if that's Mr. Roseman trying with his score to evoke, you know, the haunting sounds of the civilization past, or if that was, you know, the sound effects people putting stuff in. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I really don't know.
There was a half naked man walking for this minute. I have no idea.
Oiled
I
up.
wasn't paying attention to anything else.
So
Those are
Well,
some
that's what-
abs. Hi.
well, this is honestly, so, okay, if you don't know this about Richard, Richard works out to the point that he makes Sean and I aren't grotesquely out of shape, but he makes us look grotesquely out of shape. So we
Go
look
look at Richard's picture on our website.
That's
you'll
right.
See.
you can go find it and you'll see that this guy works out. Now, this is what I want to, Charlton was not, he didn't look horrific in the first film, but he did not look fit.
He did not look fit. No.
In the 70s, but
It's a different aesthetic.
It
But
was
in the
slender.
60s,
Very
did a
different
lot of
aesthetic.
people spend a lot of time on six-packs? Because six-pack
No, they
became this
didn't.
term that more in
They-
the late 90s where we kind of started talking like that.
No. I mean, at this point, you really didn't even have your Schwarzeneggers out there, kind of being the super
Right.
buff bodybuilders. It wasn't until later in the 70s when that kind of happened.
It's more like a runner's body. or something.
Heston was just, you know, a handsome man, and a handsome man did not have to be
Right.
Defined.
defined or super defined or anything like that. So it's kind of unusual when we have Brent come back in, and he's actually a little bit more ripped than Taylor was.
Which in this scene, he is noticeably
Yeah.
Well, there
rather
was,
toned.
that's what I found so odd about the scene is he's this moment where he is pulling against the
I-beam,
girder,
yeah.
the beam. He rolls around to the back where he puts 2 hands on the beam, and we get to kind of see his back for like a second as he's kind of flexing around the
Yeah.
thing. There was if I were on a production and I had to wear a Tarzan loincloth and I had a few moments to kill.
Do some push-ups right before the
I
scene.
but I would probably be doing these small movements to kind of show off my body. And I don't mean it like in a sexy way,
No.
but like I need some movement. I know that I can kind of flex and pose through this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of feels like what he's doing. He's doing what I would probably do in this moment. If I was on a set and I had a camera and I had no direction to do, I would stretch out my arms. I would grab on something. And particularly because I'm not wearing clothes. I'm awkward right now. I've got to do something that doesn't feel awkward, and movement would do that for me. If I were clothed, I don't think I would be doing these same movements.
It brought to mind to me the unintentionally sexual moment of the first film when they've gone for their little skinny dipping scene and Dodge and Landon drop to the dirt in front of a naked Taylor to look at the footprint in the sand, and suddenly it looked like two grown men
about the boil
descending, going down on a guy. It was poorly staged, and in today's language, it was like, what are you doing? And in this, I thought, why are they being erotic? Because every bit of his posing is that.
It is. It's very much so.
It is very much. Now, fine, if you want to evoke the people that are attracted to him looking in the audience and going, wow, he's hot, because he's great looking. His body is very nicely toned. It doesn't belong in this moment at all.
Well, that we do that shot where he comes around the beam and he's got two hands on it. We get his back for a brief second, and that was almost setting the stage for a shot from his over his right arm, right shoulder,
to which he really looked like Heston.
Yes,
there.
I've got that same note. In that very shot, he looks like Charlton Heston entirely.
But the camera completely moved to this side over here.
Yeah, but so that previous shot where he was posing with his back, that's considered a positive shot. At that point, the line can be wherever you want it to be.
It was just unusual. Now he's using this.
It's a very odd moment.
He's using this to look now over at Nova, right?
So we've gone from him doing a Singing in the Rain, swing around the pole, to the bad Sears Roebuck catalog posing with his back to the camera, to now he's looking past his arms at Nova.
He was so mad and frustrated and shocked when it was revealed that it was the New York subway, for him to just be so kind of playful.
Yeah.
If we thought about the fact that maybe the guerrilla soldiers are above and he's trapped in a cage and he has nothing to do, his movements might be more explained, but I expect it to be a tad more frantic.
Yeah, I find myself again wanting to admonish. And not admonish to. I simply want to slap Mr. Post, because in the hands of somebody like a Robert Rodriguez, when you hand no money, they find an artistic, interesting way to tell a story. And in this, it was almost like, okay, so you're in a moment, she's sleeping, you don't know, you're just sad. And he's not thinking through what the characters need or mean in that moment, because when he does this, in that moment when he's looking at Nova, I don't understand even the motivation for half hiding his face.
Yeah.
I mean, when you hide someone's face, that implies they're hiding an emotion, they're doing something. Whether you like that or not, that's what that implies. The construction of this moment is entirely flawed.
So he stares over his left arm. For the first shot, you don't really see his mouth. You just see kind of his eyes and part of his mustache. And the top of his mustache. And then we have probably like a 4-second pause on a kind of a medium shot on Nova asleep still, just kind of passed out. And then he kind of pulls up a little bit from his arm so you can see his mouth, and that's when he says, "Are you what we were before we learned to talk and made a mess of everything? Did any good ever come of talking around all those tables?"
I understand at that time why they're asking these questions. Again, I think that, to what I mentioned in the previous minute, if he had noticed that she was sleeping when he couldn't, that's an observation I think that character might have at that moment.
How can you sleep in a time like this?
Are you what we were before we learned to talk and made fools of ourselves? And made a mess of everything around all those tables. This line to me, when you were describing him trying to add to the script and give his character more information, this to me feels like a line that he would have asked for to have happen as opposed to just being here.
However, somebody should have stepped in at that point and said, that's really not doing anything to further the conversation that wasn't already in the first film.
Also,
You know,
it's
because it goes back to Taylor's the summer of lots of lovin', and that kind of it's really that same thought. There were people like you know, it was all this. It's not a deeper part of the conversation. It's the same conversation.
There was two lines that were cut from that thing. So, are you what we were before we learned to talk and made a mess of everything? Did any good ever come of talking round all those tables? Did apes make war when they were still dumb? Did men?
Did apes make war when they were still dumb? Did men?
Did men?
There's no or. Did men?
No. Did men? Question mark. It's just, I mean, even adding those two lines in there, it's almost like some weird reference. Like it's like weird logic. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to me on its standalone in this moment. Like I would have liked to have had a little more, if you were going to be looking at Nova and thinking about where she came from and who she was and how she got to this point and how the apes became intelligent. I'm trying to fantasize or imagine what dialogue I would want to hear come out of his mouth, but I would have wanted to be a little bit deeper than just kind of a throwaway moment.
And I think that's exactly it. I think that's why I say this feels like it could be interchanged with the moment with Taylor and Nova in the first film. It's this, maybe that's ANSA's, you know, you don't have to be very observational. You just make the same comment.
You have to speak your thoughts out loud.
Yeah. So now that we say that he's reiterating the Heston stuff, and Sean, you brought up that what we'd both had, that he looks a lot like Heston. At this point, I found myself wondering, why didn't they just make Brent
Heston and say that you're
or
that
Taylor's
character.
brother?
Yeah.
Why didn't they do something to say that they were both in the program? That would have at least been more interesting. They would have had a bigger character thing.
Heston had something in his contract to, if there is an additional movie, I get to be part of it, and you know,
I don't know.
He's, at this point, you know, and it's so minimally, but he's getting paid. I don't know. If
they had actually gone so far as to say that Brent was Taylor's brother, it would make sense why Brent might be on this mission.
See, and I kind of like that.
That he thinks that he's on. He's pursuing his brother for whatever reason.
And that's such an easy addition. That's, you know, all he has to say then when he sees Taylor's dog tags at the very first, that's my brother. You know, that there you go. That's now inserted. Now we know what they look alike.
We know why he's so desperate to find Taylor and why they might have launched the ship to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, even without having to go to the idea of them on a rescue mission, because we don't know that they were lost.
Surely the producers and everyone involved saw that he looked exactly like Heston,
they
right?
had to cast him
that was
like
intentional.
That.
It was totally
had to be.
intentional. Yeah.
I mean, there are points in this where when it's in the wide shot, when he's flexing and going around that beam, where I thought, good Lord, that could be Heston.
Like Charleston Heston, yeah.
I mean, where his face is slightly obscured and you see it. I just find this moment to be so problematic for those very reasons, that this is another one of those where we're not getting anything new. We're not furthering a story. We're not creating a character that has a need. We're just restating the world we're in.
So there was as he finishes his conversation about did ever good come from talking around all those tables, he's kind of looking up as he's doing it. He's looking up to nothing. And I have to admit, for a second, it's only in breaking down this moment that I'm realizing that he's probably noticing stuff outside, because that's why in the next moment when he
goes
runs
out of
up
the cave
step,
again.
Yeah. So this moment when he's uttering his lines, and I'm like, he's just kind of, you know, quizzically asking the universe a question and looking up. That's why he's looking up. But I think him looking up is an indication
The
that
motivation
maybe
for him to get out of the cave.
Motivation for him to run up the steps.
Yeah, because I did have in my notes, why did the Brent think that the apes are gone, and not a risky move going out so soon?
Yeah, so he comes kind of casually back around the girder again, tugs on it. We still get his back, and then he just kind of casually walks up the steps as if he's going to check it out.
To your point, why didn't we have rocks going down the steps that draws his attention? Now he can make the bad judgment of going outside, but at least something that is a visible signal that something impending danger is coming in. Something to that extent.
Why now am I just going to go check? I mean, he looked up during that conversation. We don't hear anything. It just needed something to let me know why he's going to go look.
Why is he going to go check? Because the script needs him to go check. We aren't building
because of plot.
That's exactly it. And
I did have a note that I hadn't noticed in the previous minutes. So he took his bandage off.
Mm-hmm.
He has a wound that's going in, but you see no exit wound, which means that he has a bullet in his arm that nobody has ever taken out.
See, I just thought all it was a nick. I thought that the bullet just scraped him. I didn't think it went in.
Yeah, I thought it was Nick as well.